It's now been 2 years since Suzanne Morphew's disappearance. She was reported missing on May 10th, 2020. And Barry Morphew, her husband, has been in court, and recently his case got dismissed. More about that in a minute. But their daughters, Mallory Morphew and Macy Morphew, have finally spoken out. During Suzanne's disappearance, the girls were on a trip while Barry Morphew had an emergency Broomfield job in Colorado that he had to tend to. However, according to the law, he wasn't supposed to be working on. So on Good Morning America recently, the girls spoke out. Mallory, who's the oldest daughter, she's living in Gunnison, Colorado. We've heard that Barry wanted to be able to go to Gunnison to visit his daughters. He had an ankle bracelet on, which didn't really work. It only worked when he was in Poncha Springs, so he had to report every day. Now, Macy, she's the youngest of the two, and she was 16 years old at the time. She did live at home, but then it was said that she lived with her boyfriend. Barry was also in the Good Morning America clip. He sat in between his daughters, and he spoke for a very teeny tiny time, all of 6 seconds. That actually outbeats his last video of 26 seconds, pleading for his wife of 30 years. So there's that. We'll get to the clip in a minute. Barry's case was dismissed, but without prejudice, which means they can go back and charge Barry if they need to. Barry was supposed to be doing his trial in May, but a motion was brought forth by the prosecution that asked to dismiss this case without prejudice. So it's a discharge without an acquittal. In the document, law enforcement stated that they wanted to focus in on a remote and mountainous region near Suzanne Morphew's residence. And they feel that they're very close to finding Suzanne, only they believe that she's under 5 feet of snow. I did a video not long ago about trees and the body farm and how they're doing a study about cadavers outing their killers by just observing changes in the foliage and the trees. It's very interesting. Link will be below. So in court, the prosecution got sanctioned by the judge for violations, not making deadlines on time and other court rulings. And as their punishment, the judge eliminated 90% of their expert witnesses, which was 12 out of 14 and crippling, in my opinion, the prosecution. Suzanne's sister and brothers agreed to this dismissal in hopes that Suzanne would be found and that there will be more charges and be back in court. An interesting piece of information is the judge actually resigned after this dismissal. Judge Ramsey gave in his resignation, and it's effective as of July 25th. He submitted a letter that said, after 6.5 years, it's time to move on. Part of it said, this decision is being made in part due to health issues which impact my ability to perform my duties as a district court judge. It is my sincere hope that by giving 90 days notice as required, it will allow for an easier transition for the judicial branch and my successor. After July 25th, it said that Judge Lama will be returning to private practice. So after the dismissal, the girls were seen walking out with Barry Morphew. They were all happy about the dismissal, and one of the girls looked up to the sky. I think she said thanks. I'm not sure what she quite said, but she did do that. And they have been by Barry's side throughout this whole entire deal. And I believe from my observation that they are, daddy's little girls. And from some of the information that we've seen through the documents, it's not bad or good, it's just how it seems. I also remember that the girls were giving him heart signs in court and things like that. Also, what was interesting was Barry's lawyer, Iris Etan. We can't deny that she's a shark, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts below. Now, we saw after the dismissal that Barry and Iris came together. They gave a little hug and a little smooch on the cheek, I believe it was. Everybody's happy in that bubble. What was interesting is when Iris started speaking to the press, she actually attacked Lauren Scharf. And I feel that it was unwarranted. Have a look.
What was Barry's reaction and the daughter's reaction when they heard this news?
Barry and his daughters are relieved, but they're sad because they too want to know where Suzanne Morphew is. There's been a lot of press and different types of social media, just like you, Lauren, who have really made a case that Barry's guilty. And and the community has really done a poor job. And shame on the media, and shame on the people in the press who've jumped to conclusions in this case.
It's really unfair to say.
It's not unfair to say, Lauren Scharf. You were participating in the fact that this community was actually believed wrongfully that Mr. Morphew is guilty when there's not even an ounce of evidence against him. And this case was moved from Chaffee County because partly of what you did in this case, you and Miss Stanley did in this case, in order to prejudice the jurors that potentially would have been sad.
In the courtroom. Okay?
This right now, we are dealing with a family that is grieving their missing mother and their wife. Barry Morphew loves Suzanne Morphew. He loves her and he misses her, and he wants to know where Suzanne Morphew is. It's a big question mark. It's a big question mark. Definitely, there was not any evidence, even close to convicting him of murder of his wife. Instead, what their evidence is that she could have left and or she could have been abducted. And the evidence is way stronger for both of those possibilities than anything far from Mr. Morphew having the ability to murder his loving wife that he had for 30 years.
It just shows you more of the irrational side, in my opinion, of Iris Etan. There's a few things that Iris did in court that was a smoke show. For example, the talk about the DNA. It was a moot point, but she brought it to the forefront to make it seem and bring doubt to people that, oh, maybe Barry wasn't, responsible because of this DNA. But the DNA, and I've said this a gajillion times, so I'm not even going to repeat myself, but the DNA was a moot point, but she made sure to throw it in. It is, I guess that's her job as a lawyer. But this attack on Lauren Scharf, totally unwarranted. I've never ever seen Lauren side with anybody. She just brought the facts out in the news. And for Iris to attack her like that, totally unfair. Now, if she wanted to attack me, that's a little different because I give my opinion on here. And I'm going to give my opinion more in a moment on Barry's little Good Morning America ordeal. So let's get into the clip. First, Mallory talks, and then Barry, then Macy. Let's go through it bit by bit. Mallory first, and just some observations here. You'll see Mallory will keep looking at her dad almost like in approval in her statement.
We've been silent for a long time, and we've decided that we finally want to break the silence.
It has been years. It's been 2 years, in fact, and we've never seen the daughters, or Barry for that matter, but we've never seen them do a search. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't do a private search, but they definitely didn't do a public search or the vigils. And many people have had so many comments and questions about this. Another little interesting bit was that it was said the daughters did not speak to Suzanne's side of the family, which would be their aunt Melinda, their uncle Andrew, and David. So I don't know if they have recently, but from what it was said by the family was that they didn't talk to them. Let's keep going.
It's been an emotional roller coaster, but we feel like we can finally take our first steps in healing, which is a blessing. And yeah, we just know our dad better than anyone else, and we know he was not involved in our mom's disappearance.
It's no mystery that these girls have been through a lot. I think you would agree. Their mom's been gone, she's missing, presumed dead, and their dad ended up in jail, and now he's out. But one thing I do wonder is her word healing. I know from numerous chats with victims' families, in my own personal experience talking to them, they have a very, very, very hard time healing when they don't have answers. So, I wish they did a little bit more on this clip, because really a couple minutes, if that, is just not enough. If they really wanted to speak, they just didn't say very much, right? Obviously in the editing. But I'd like to know more about healing. Is she saying healing from Barry or healing from her mom? Because in my opinion, how can they heal when she hasn't been found? It's just a thought. Let me know your thoughts below. Now with Macy, she speaks directly to the camera rather than looking at Barry so much. And before I play her clip, Just so you know, Macy actually suggested to Suzanne that she get a restraining order. It was in the affidavit. She knew that Barry and Suzanne were having problems, and even Macy's boyfriend mentioned it on body cam when questioned by an officer.
I just hope that Linda will step up to the plate and do everything she can to find our mom, because what they've done is not fair. And we're never going to stop looking for our mom.
Now, this is where the controversy is about never stop looking for their mom. I know a lot of people are riled up about this. A lot of people make comments about them going on vacation shortly after Suzanne went missing, about not doing these searches. And it's hard to really understand when we're not there or in their shoes, right? I mean, in my opinion, Barry's a controller. So I had questioned quite often, well, I wonder what Barry's saying to the daughters of what they can do and what they can't do, and when it's time to speak and when it's time not to. Hit the like button if you get what I'm saying. Now let's get to Barry. Barry has a pattern. He still has the same pattern. In his previous 26-second video, which he made without the authorities' guidance, and after the mountain lion theory didn't work out, he switched to this abduction and then did this video. I'll have the link below. But what the pattern is with Barry is unique to Barry. Barry double blinks when he lies. I'll play the clip.
I just love my girls, and I love my wife, and I just want her to be found. I just love my girls, and I love my wife, and I just want her to be found.
He says, I just love my girls, and I love my wife, and I just want her to be found. So when he says, I love my wife, that's where the double blink happens. He also says, I just want her to be found.
I just love my girls, and I love my wife, and I just want her to be found.
We see the same behavior in his 26-second video. And we know Suzanne was cheating on Barry. And we also know the Monday before she disappeared, and according to Suzanne's notes, that Barry had accused her of having a boyfriend. So in the old video, he double blinks when he says, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, our girls need you. And he repeats again, I will do whatever it takes to get you back, with the double blink. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad. He trails off at that point. But note, Barry said he would do whatever it takes to search for Suzanne or bring her back, and he didn't do a search. He said he did a search, but he didn't help search. And he certainly stopped after he met Shoshana. Plus, he put trail cams near his house. He went to the last-minute job in Broomfield. He didn't go to that vigil. He didn't participate. Got a girlfriend a few months later, but we know he was looking long before for other women, and it was said that he's had affairs before. And we know he had some very interesting dirty searches online. I have a video on that as well. So he double blinks when he lies. That's his pattern. Not everybody has the same pattern. This is unique to Barry. Love doesn't do, in my opinion, a 26-second video after 30 years. Love also doesn't move on after a couple of months to another woman after your wife of 30 years and the mother of your children is missing. And love certainly doesn't just defend your own actions when it shouldn't matter, and you should be putting everything aside to finding the love of your life. I want to know how you feel about the girls speaking out now. What is your initial thought as soon as you saw this clip? Please put it below. Are you upset that they came out now? Are you upset that Good Morning America didn't do a longer clip? Let me know below. What are your thoughts? Now, let's talk about Iris Etan again for 1 minute. Take a look at this clip.
And if you want to honor Suzanne and you want to honor the daughters, go find Suzanne.
How about Barry goes to find her and ends the pain and suffering for everyone? Now check out this next clip.
Prosecutors need to be held responsible, and they need to pay for the damage they've caused to Barry, which is frankly nearly irreparable, because it's hard for anybody to believe that Barry is not who they claim he was.
It's interesting, she says, that anyone knows him would say that, this is not like him. In the affidavit, there are numerous interviews with people that knew Barry. And a lot of them said he did it. A lot of them said something's not right. Barry's not acting right. It goes on and on. It's in the affidavit. So what she says, in my opinion, is smoke and mirrors. Now, as for Suzanne in the mountainous area, I hope they can find her. Barry has talked about the triangle area, which is near the house. There's trees that people are talking about. He actually purchased 3 trees and has an invoice around the time that Suzanne went missing. And you know what's interesting is I was sent a picture that was of a tree that pertains to this case, and I looked at the tree and I thought, what's up with the heart rocks at the bottom? Let me know if you see that too. And also I observed right at the bottom, you see where the leaves are changing or the needles are changing on the tree? It's very interesting. Too much nitrogen can do that. And too much nitrogen is in my body farm video that I talked about. And that can come from a cadaver. Do you think that she could be under a tree? Not only did Barry purchase these trees, but he was also seen in Broomfield getting rid of a planter from said tree. His bobcat also got hit by cadaver dogs, and so much so that the cadaver dog sat down in the seat in the bobcat. So where did the bobcat go on the 9th and the early morning hours of the 10th? Check out my tree video next to see how trees can out a killer. Check out my video here to see Barry's filthy internet searches and see the man underneath the macho. Click subscribe if you haven't done so already. Click like, and don't forget to share. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.